And we're back with Truth Unrestricted, the podcast that is creating and interpreting the language of the disinformation age. And I'm Spencer, your host, back again today with Patrick. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm good, Spencer. How are you?
Good. Feeling really good. We have a good episode today. I fairly recently, within just the last few weeks, a prominent person in our Canadian political world, Pierre Poilievre, with the alliterative name, went on Joe Rogan, and a lot of people had a lot of things to say. Most of them had the exact same thing to say, which involved one single clip that's like 30 seconds long. We're going to play that. And I didn't like what most of them had to say. I think most of them missed a great many things that were important. Just yesterday, I finally started catching some people saying some things that were related to what I noticed when I heard it. But it was too late. I already planned this episode, so we're doing it. Screw that. We get our own kick at the, I shouldn't say kicking a cat. That's not how we do this anymore. We used to say that stuff way back in the 90s. Yeah. But the times have changed. We get our own swat at the piñata here in the hope that some candy can fall out. Everyone else already...
piñata, though, you know.
Well, okay,
to honor the plight of cats that have been kicked and skinned and all these terrible things.
Whatever I'm not even sure. I've never used a piñata. I don't know what it's for. But I know the candy comes out if it breaks. But
if you put candy in there, there's other ideas. We won't get into those.
That sounds like a distraction that we don't need to get into today. I should say before I start this that I promised my lovely wife, who is in the next room now watching television, that I wouldn't yell.
All right.
But I will say, I when I started this podcast a long time ago, I attempted for a long time to not use any swear words, not do that. I kept that up for a while. After a while, I decided about a year ago that we're not going to do that anymore. Maybe a year and a half ago, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to go ahead and take that, the handcuffs off there, and we're going to swear. And every once in a while we do throw one out there. But I will say tonight, an extra disclaimer. I am going to be heavily emphasizing some things verbally using curse words. So it's going to be more than the usual amount by a margin, because that's how this works. And also, before I forget, I have to keep remembering to do the credit for the theme music that was written for me specifically at my request by my good friend Jeff Powell. And I got to remember to always put that out because I said I would. And also, while I'm at it, if you have any questions, comments, complaints, concerns about anything you hear on this podcast, you want to tell me about how I got it all wrong, or how about how I got it right, whatever, send that email to truthunrestricted@gmail.com. And I'm still moving with the, if you give me legitimate feedback and you let me know what, if you want a picture of a dog or a cat, just let me know which one. I will send you your own picture of one of my real pets.
Very nice.
Haven't had a chance to get any feedback from the last one yet, because that just aired yesterday as we record this. Yeah.
So and this could be the episode that gets some keys clicking, right?
Oh, having Poilievre's name in the title will get some comments, at least on YouTube.
Yeah.
But you have to email it in, otherwise I won't send a picture of one of my pets. It's all these little stipulations. Contest rules. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So getting right into it. So you knew about this, right? I mean, you see, we have to talk about this too, Patrick. You are what is usually referred to as a normie. Have you ever been referred to as a normie?
Well, I mean, perhaps in political circles, sure. I mean, I think a lot of fields or interests that intersect with normal society, but are usually practiced or engaged with people who are very technical with it, will have, like when I look at market analysis, I look at normies, right? Like what the mass retail people tend to think, and then you kind of elevate whatever your discussion is out of that normal bubbling of whatever average understanding. So when it comes to politics, I would consider myself a normie because I don't engage a lot with especially provincial, federal party politics, things at that level. I'm more focused on municipal stuff.
Yeah, well, from a conspiratorial perspective, especially the conspiratorial analysis, you'd also be considered a normie, both from the aspect of conspiracy theory or ideation, and also from the aspect of people who debunk and work against those ideas.
Sure.
I think that's fair to say.
I mean, that's kind of akin to a layman, right?
Yeah. It's the same thing as a well, I would
consider myself pretty lay.
I would not use layman because it implies that there's an advanced level of knowledge required to move yourself away from the layman perspective. There is knowledge required, but it's not like degree level knowledge, right? It's not like you need to understand physics. You don't need to understand math to any degree. It would be like some people are really into the Wheel of Time, and some people are just more casually into things like the Wheel of Time, right? So you wouldn't need a degree to move from being a layman about the Wheel of Time to being like a really hardcore fan of the Wheel of Time. You just need to read the books. You know what I mean? Like, sure. Or like, Star Trek or Star Wars, the same thing. They're kind of a layman's understanding of one of those franchises. But all you need to do is just watch the media that's about that particular franchise, and then you're up to speed. You know what I mean? You can be there. You can, maybe you want to be more hardcore, you can look into all the Reddit threads and everything else, but like, it doesn't take going to school. It doesn't take any really, really advanced knowledge. So that's why I think normie is a more apt word for this. You are in the, on the bell curve, you're in the block of the most people are represented by you in this case.
Sure. I accept that.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So I want to get first to the first clip that pretty much everyone grabbed this right away. And it was in a lot of, little articles online. They throw a little clip in there, whatever. And TikTok videos or on Twitter, they'll throw these little videos out or whatever. And most people heard this little bit and said, Poilievre kind of did a decent job on Rogan. I think to get there, you have to set the bar low in advance, because it means that he didn't go full conspiracy, right? So maybe we'll listen to it and you'll know what I mean, and then we'll talk about the clip.
Okay.
So, there we go. All right, playing.
And I started reading about different things. I read a biography on Fidel Castro, and then I read
Justin's dad.
No, not Justin's dad.
Right?
No. His dad was Pierre. His dad was Pierre. I had issues with Pierre Trudeau too.
It is a great conspiracy theory, though.
Well, it is a hell of a. I don't think it's a true one, though. His dad is Pierre.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So, you heard the full episode.
Yeah.
What did you think when you heard that, when you got to that bit there, Patrick? What was your thoughts?
Well, I'm not familiar with, I was able to gain from that exchange that there is a conspiracy theory that Justin Trudeau's real dad is Fidel Castro.
Yeah.
I it seemed like Poilievre was ready to just laugh that down and take some amusement from it.
Mm-hmm.
Rogan, like he's just whatevering his way through it, right? But it's like one of those kind of sizzler comments where it's good for a laugh at least, but I don't know. It seemed weird that he's like, oh, that would be interesting, as if it would be meaningful. But I can't say I know anything about it. So
yeah. When Poilievre said not one of the real ones, though.
Oh, okay.
What do you think he meant by that?
That I don't know. Without him being specific, maybe
I know.
It's just it positions him to be open to. He hasn't discredited conspiracy beliefs in general.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That my ears perked up when I heard it. Everyone is saying, yeah, he did a pretty good job. I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure? And this is the reason you think he did a good job? Which I would want immediately to follow up and say, oh, which ones are the real ones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which ones do you think are the real conspiracy theories then? Like what and really I hope he gets asked that eventually. Like, I think we shouldn't, like, if this guy is the major political party, one of the two big political parties in Canada vying to become actual prime minister of the country, I would want to know what he thinks which conspiracy theories he thinks are real. I think that's useful to know. I don't think, like, some people would ask him that as like a gaffe, like a way to try to, as a gotcha question or something. We're not in gotcha territory anymore. We're not in a world in which conspiracy people making real decisions based on conspiracies in political situations is not a thing anymore. We have a president of the United States who believes in several himself and supports several of them, and a whole area of conspiracy called QAnon that's built specifically around him and fantasizing, building a fantasy world around the persona of Donald Trump. We're in it. This isn't a world where we need to be polite with people like Pierre Poilievre, who, if Carney makes the wrong moves, Poilievre could become prime minister. Carney would have to screw up a lot of stuff, but I think we as a Canadian public should know, and I think people should ask him. I'm hoping people do ask him.
If we, that's a tall order to ask anybody to engage above the level of what they're simply being presented, but that's not above your standard, right? So if you could hit the pause button on this episode and try to look up where do you think Poilievre has expressed support for any conspiracy ideas or notions that are, like, harmful or what have you?
Well, he engages in reality denial. Like, specifically, he has. Well, we're going to get to it. I have a spot. There's more that he says that are leading into stuff, and I have a spot where we're going to get into that. So we'll move on to the next clip, I think. And that clip there was about 7 minutes into the interview. And there's a lot of stuff in here about, fitness and weights and that sort of thing.
Yeah, the kettlebell.
Overall, I think Poilievre, he's I think there's a strong lure to want to go on a podcast like Joe Rogan and just do a quick study of the things that Joe Rogan is into, and then fake it. but I didn't catch that. Like, it didn't seem to me like Poilievre was faking his knowledge or his enthusiasm for any of the topics that were in there. Like, I really believe he's into MMA, right?
Yeah.
I believe he's watched UFC fights for real and not just because he wants to be able to have something to talk to Joe Rogan about. He probably really knows the MMA fighters that he claims to know. And you know, things like the kettlebell thing. I don't think he was making that stuff up. I think that seemed real to me. Like, it was a genuine, you know, thing that him and Joe Rogan had in common, right? So whatever. But we're not talking about all those things. I just picked these clips out. So let's listen to the next one here.
Well, I'm really excited to have you in here because I've seen you speak multiple times and you're a very reasonable, intelligent person that makes a lot of sense. And that is a rare thing in politics. And I love Canada. Like, I just say, I don't go up there anymore, but it's because I think the government went horribly wrong over the last, X amount of years, but the people are amazing. It's like, I've always said that Canada has it's like America with 20% less assholes. Like, every time I would go up there, I'm like, people are so nice. They're like the nicest people. And I think that's part of what went wrong for Canada is that people are rule followers and, they're trusting and kind people. And, this wolf in sheep's clothing snuck in and, was pretending he was a sweet guy and passing all these crazy laws. And just when we saw what happened with COVID, with what happened with the truckers and people's accounts getting shut down for donating to the truckers, like, the whole thing was so concerning because Canada was like a part of America almost. I mean, you're a different country, but it's like you used to be able to go over there with just a driver's license.
Yeah, do you remember how just being a relentless set of rule followers just ruined all of Canada somehow? That we're, I mean, to hear Rogan tell it, we're just a bunch of really nice simpletons who get taken advantage of by our politicians. I was surprised to hear it. I don't look around and see a bunch of rule followers. If you're in Canada and you, I mean, the number one thing that will get you chirped at, in my experience, anywhere in Canada, is pretending like you're better than anyone else. That will get you. It doesn't matter. Like I've had bosses that tried it and it hasn't worked out. Guys will still mention it. They'll find ways to point it out.
If you ride a horse around here, you duck down.
Yeah. It's
there's a lot of things hanging from overhead.
To interviews with Wayne Gretzky, for example, is a really great. Like, it's okay. We feel it's okay for us to call Wayne Gretzky the great one.
Mm-hmm.
But if Wayne Gretzky went around trying to remind people how he's called the great one,
mm-hmm.
we would find him completely insufferable and send him away.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea that we're just simpletons, we're just nice people and we get taken advantage of by anyone is really kind of really? You don't, come here and say that. I don't, What does Joe Rogan think is really happening in Canada? This line, this trotted out line about how, Joe Rogan can't understand how anything happened. Trudeau did all these crazy things and ruined Canada, and he doesn't like it in Canada anymore. I don't,
Well, can we look at the specific example he uses about the truckers' protest?
Sure.
It's just, I don't know, because this is something that I listen to Joe Rogan when he has guests on that I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a rabid Rogan follower. I do like him, kind of loose assessment of whatever critical thinking he's bringing to bear, but he is also a podcast host designed to engage his guests. But he has been looking at that trucker protest and the intervention of the government regarding the shipment or transfer of funds that was to support the truckers and the government's intervention around that. And that's been the biggest thing that he bangs his little drum about in terms of like government overreach. I don't know what the rest of the shit is that he's talking about, like, you know, Canada going to hell, like you said. Like, that's not.
He
really
also feels that almost all the COVID measures everywhere in the world were overblown and way too much. That's a subtext to all of that, which also was a subtext to the trucker convoy, because much of that underwrites the whole drive to do the convoy protest in the first place was all of the COVID measures. Yeah.
Meanwhile, nobody ever takes into account, like, this was not a protest like any other protest.
No.
Like, everybody brought their trucks.
Staying there for 3 weeks. Camping out and noise complaints, and people can't run businesses, and
it was hard. It was hard for the people that live there. So, I mean,
and Pierre Poilievre brought them food to encourage them.
Oh, did he? Yeah.
And supported them on social media. And then he lost his next election, which his home riding was in the suburb of Ottawa known as Carleton.
Yeah.
Because the people there were angry at his support of the protest.
Oh, was that the central?
That was the central theme. Of their discontent with him. A big reason why he lost his home riding, like when this last election last year. Yeah. His party got a greater share of the vote than it had gotten for a very long time, but he lost his home riding specifically because it was in a suburb of Ottawa, and they did not forget that he helped and encouraged the convoy protest when it was really, really bad for Ottawa.
Boy, you think they take that as a pretty large signal about the strength of, or the wisdom of including messaging around the trucker convoy after the fact. But I mean, he lost that riding and he just swooped into another one that they're like, oh, we're fine. Who cares?
A lot of people who will apologize for situations like that. They'll say about how, like, these are Canadians too, who will say that Poilievre was treated poorly and blah 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 by such and such, and then he lost his home riding because of some other thing or whatever, and then they won't even want to mention anything about the convoy. And then you'd be like, well, you know, you can say whatever you want about the convoy, but the people there did not like the convoy and didn't like his support of the convoy, so yeah, they made their displeasure known. That was big factor for what happened there. To ignore it is dishonest. It's dishonest. It's very relevant context. Yeah, his home riding's in Ottawa. It's not even like another town in Ontario that's within a couple hours drive of Ottawa. It's a suburb of Ottawa. It's in Ottawa. I don't know.
Which shows you it's not okay to just like hang out one region to dry for the benefit of everyone else, right? Like, it wasn't okay to do that to the people in Ottawa. No, just because they felt like there was a bigger issue, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I was leading a trucker convoy, I'd be like staging mini blockades at, like, why not just block off the what have you, the border crossings? You know, you've got all these
rigs. Did try that, right?
Yeah, but I mean, try and fail at that at least, rather than shutting down a city that everything around the Parliament building or whatever is not related to that, and yet they all suffered and they never,
because it was about, like, I've been saying it for a long time. I want to do a deep dive into the trucker convoy. I haven't gotten around to putting all the information in yet, but I do want to do one. It will be a good, fun episode to do because a lot of people talk about it a lot, and a lot of people from outside Canada miss a lot of the details that are super important. And it's probably at least 2 episodes worth, right? It was a big event. But yeah, he,
call that one spelling it out for Rogan.
Yeah.
Right. Because then maybe he could put it to rest. Because it, like I said, it is something that he brings up.
Oh yeah.
Oh, frequently.
Definitely. And I mean, I also like, in the way that our discourse about this almost needs to be absolute. It becomes a thing where you have to either support Trudeau or you have to support the protesters. And I'm like, I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
I can say that the protesters were way over the line, but then also say that, agree with the panel when it went through all the details and said that Trudeau also stepped over the line when he did what he did. Like I can agree with both. It's the only conclusion that you can't come to is that they were both right.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
But they can both be wrong. They can easily both be wrong. Yeah. So those were the first 2 clips. The next series of clips are all one section, but it was like 4.5 or 5 minutes or something. So it's broken up into individual bits, but they're all like these 2 that we just did. There was talking in between the 2 of them. And then from the end of this one, there's talking from, between this one and the one I'm about to play. But after the one I'm about to play, there's no in between. It's just from one straight to the other, one clip straight to the other clip.
All right.
Here we go.
But it's just an amazing place. It's a great country. And to see it go the way it's been going and sliding the way it's been happening over the last, X amount of years, there's just so many things that concern me. One of the things that really concerns me is this assisted suicide thing. Had 1 in 20 deaths in Canada is now assisted suicide. That's insane.
So here's the thing that I'll give Rogan. He has that statistic exactly right. It's not actually insane. To say it's insane is to greatly underestimate the number of people who get terminal cancer every year. 63% of the people who receive medical assistance in dying are terminal cancer patients. That's a whopping percentage. There's people who suffer from other conditions who also get it, but 63% last year, or 2023. I don't think that 2024, I don't think the 2025 numbers are out yet, but the last year that I knew that were on the record, 63%. It's almost 2/3. Like, most people don't think about how many people get cancer and die from cancer. It's the number 1 killer of humans how painful, in the Western world.
Most people know how painful it is, but I mean, that's kind of a prime motivator for anyone who would want to medically assist their death as a result of it.
Here's like medical assistance in dying or cancer. This is an incredibly personal medical issue. These things. Sometimes family members don't like how things turn out. I mean, in every direction, like even without including medical assistance in dying, it's some people get cancer and choose to not fight it. Like it's a thing that some people do. They just say, well, okay, well, I'm not going to, the way that we fight cancer typically is very gruesome. And they say that, it's only a chance to live, and I will be maybe greatly reducing the quality of life I have in the time I have left. So I'm not going to do that. And for any reason they have. And I've had people I knew who made that decision, and I said to them and other people that they knew and everything else that no one gets to judge them for that. Like, And I want to spit in the eye of anyone who thinks that they have the right to judge for that person whose life is ending, to try to judge how they decide to what they decide to do with their remaining days, years, months, whatever it turns out to be.
Yeah.
That's not a thing that I get to decide. It might be a situation where I would want them to fight it and live.
Yeah, if we admit our own,
right. But I don't get to
attachment.
decide for them. I don't get to say, look, person that I love, I want you to go through this gruesome thing because there's a whatever % chance that you could make it through. I don't get to decide that for them. And I have to be adult enough to admit that's a responsibility that everyone around them has to have. That's a maturity that we all have to get to, is that we don't get to decide that for them. And we have, I think there's a law against suicide, but it's a weird law because it's like, if someone did commit suicide, what do you do then? Like it doesn't make much sense. I think it's there as a discouragement thing. It's like I don't know. It's to add some level of disgrace to like suicide, but
there's also, I mean, if say you were going to, as an outside party, ask law enforcement to get involved to stop somebody in carrying out that suicide.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you get more assistance there. That's true. But these questions about society and about how people live and breathe and do everything they do and come to not breathe at the end, they're often, most of them are out of our control. And that can be scary. Things out of our control is also a big driver for conspiratorial thinking. The idea that, I mean, it's been pointed out by many, many, many people that one event that drove many, many conspiracy theories into existence was the death of JFK. So suddenly, because people had to grapple with the idea that any moment someone with a gun could climb up somewhere and put the bullet in the right spot and kill the president, and then everything changes all of a sudden. And I guess it might have been a little different if they didn't like JFK as much, but he was a much loved president, very popular, so it hurt people all that much more. But on a smaller scale, this is something we have to deal with people we know. So that's what the rest of this conversation is about this medical assistance in dying thing.
Do you have a clip about the age? Because that was the one thing that leapt out, and I was like, I hope we talk about this, was when he made the claim that Poilievre mentioned something about like, we don't want to see that used for kids, and I'm like, is it even used for kids? And Rogan brought up this thing. He thought that somebody had used it or accessed it. It sounded like he was saying someone young used it to access it for seasonal depression.
Yeah,
right?
That's coming up. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, we're getting into that right now. That was
where I was like, we need a fact check or some sort of clarity on that.
Yeah, we got that. Here's the next clip. This is right after what was just said.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, my view is that people should have the choice, but the concern we have is the suggestion that it would be offered to kids or offered to people whose only condition is mental illness.
Right.
I don't agree with that.
My concern as well. I mean, if someone's got a terminal, like a good friend of mine went to Oregon to end his life because he had ALS.
Okay.
But I mean, he was gone. I mean, he could barely talk at the end of his life. His name is Michael Lair. He was a regular guest on Kill Tony. Great guy.
Right.
And it was horrible. I mean, watching him fade away, and he wanted to go out on his own terms. So he went to Oregon for assisted suicide.
So, not really a lot that has to be said there, only it sets a few things up. I could have just scrapped that bit, but I thought once I was really thinking about the conversation, I thought that bit is interesting, that Joe Rogan had a friend, a person he really knew, who had a terminal illness, and he went to a different state and got, assistance ending his life in a painless fashion. And, Joe Rogan felt that was all right, which I thought was interesting given where this is going to go. So tracking that, moving on to the next clip.
There's a place for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was a kid recently in Canada, and he did it for seasonal depression. I'm sure you're aware of that case.
I am.
Like, who allowed that to happen? Who didn't counsel this young guy?
Mhm.
Who didn't give him a hug? Who didn't tell him about diet and exercise and changing your surroundings, your lifestyle, and just do something
Right.
to give you some hope and happiness? Like, seasonal depression,
I know.
really? You're going to end your life, this beautiful life on this planet, for seasonal depression? That's crazy.
That's why we have to do more to give people hope when they're suffering with mental illness.
Yes.
Give people the sense that they can take back control of their lives.
Okay. So, what point do we throw the fact check in? This is always the question I have. Like, this story is a whopper. It's a whopper of a huge number of things. The media at large generally has screwed up telling this story. I've read several articles about it, and they're immediately confused because there's a story that the media in question seems to want to tell based on the title of the article, but then details in the article appear to directly contradict with the heading, the headline. And I, had to look up more details. I mean, there was a whole thing. So this person died in late December of 2025. So this is only 4-ish months ago, 3 months ago now. We're right at the end of March now.
This is the example that Rogan just roped in about.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So there's a lot of details about this situation. But immediately, like even in this clip, it's confusing because Poilievre says that he's worried that it's going to be used for mental illness. And then Rogan says, seasonal depression. Have you heard of this case? Or are you aware of this case? Poilievre says, I am. So he's aware of this situation. How well informed he is or not informed is another question, but I feel strongly that he should be well informed.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, he's also like, politics is the only job Poilievre's ever had. He's been a member of parliament for basically his whole adult life. And he was a sitting member of parliament when the MAID Act became a thing in 2016.
Did he vote against it?
I didn't check his voting record, but he must have read all of it. And, there was how it works. They propose things and they go over how it should be worded, and then they suggest things and they vote for it or vote against it. But so he must have very good knowledge of the structure of it, the restrictions on it, how it works, more so than most people, because I had to look it up, right? Like, you would have to look it up if you were going to. And he says he's aware of this case. So this case is a person whose name was Keanu Vafayan, I think is how you pronounce his name. He was 26 when he died. And Joe Rogan says he had seasonal depression. So already I'm clocking something myself from my experience with working with people who regularly engage in unreality, as they're always trying to shift things over. So seasonal depression is often what a person will say when they're trying to water down depression, because seasonal depression is sort of a temporary thing. It's more temporary, right? If you wait long enough, the season will change, and then it won't be as dark, and you know, you get more sunlight, and you can go outside more. And I mean, seasonal depression can be a real thing in Canada because of the weather, because of the darkness, more darkness in winter, and you know, not everyone gets it, and the people who get it to different degrees, whatever. But from everything I read, none of the articles or any of the information about Keanu said anything about seasonal depression. They only say depression. So already I'm already clocking this, that okay, right. But they said a lot more things. So do you think that this person had depression and that he applied for the MAID program and that he was accepted, approved, and then he was ended his life?
That's not what I'm led to believe. I'm led to believe that he had seasonal depression.
No. But like, even seasonal depression, we would, you know, I'm not a medical person, but I would think that depression is worse than seasonal depression. Seasonal being something that you just wait long enough and it sort of goes away, or you know, you maybe come back the next year, but at least you have the rest of the year in which you're not suffering it. But
so
depression,
I'm just talking about
different.
From what I heard on this podcast, it sounded like a softened version. What you're saying, it sounds like you're saying, well, no, there was underlying depression. There was nothing
Right
that should have been regarded as seasonal.
Let's say that I say he had depression and not seasonal depression.
Right.
Would you think, just having that detail only, do you think that this would be reasonable that this young man at 26 should go through the MAID program and end his life at 26?
Well, I mean, I would give an unqualified opinion that.
Yeah, unqualified. Yeah, it's fine. Unqualified. Yeah, obviously you're not.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there would be no. It's not even that. It's just that, like, to qualify, like, what should it have? I would never say that's got to be the first course. I wouldn't say that if a person has that. I think that, like, for me, the point and purpose of MAID is when there is no other recourse, and that the person is either facing an impending death or a quality of life seen to be worse than death.
So,
and then
the MAID program does have structure. You need 2 doctors individually to sign off that you qualify for the MAID program.
And you presume those doctors would see the case specifics enough to know, because is there something else that
they
was
have
available?
Licenses and they have insurance that they have to answer for.
Yeah.
There's a whole other healthcare structure around that, right? And they use phrases like irremediable circumstances and to ease the suffering of dying, right? So, but like, I haven't told you anything more about the case. And I'm not even saying that depression is, but if I told you that it was just it was depression, you know, your layman's opinion, do you think it's reasonable that someone might go through this and end their life at 26? If depression is bad enough? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
What if I told you that there was more to this than depression? So what if I said that this young man was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at age 4 and had suffered diabetes so far his entire life? And, you know, neither of us are doctors, but I know that diabetes is you know, it is something generally that can be managed. However, not every case of diabetes is the same.
It's always going to have some impact.
Some impact,
have a real impact
and also
on quality of life. Yeah.
It's like your pancreas produces insulin, and then in type 1 diabetes it doesn't produce insulin. But that's a very simple explanation. That's not really true that your pancreas it's very rare that your pancreas never produces insulin. It just is usually not enough insulin. And then also it can wax and wane. It can sometimes produce enough and sometimes not produce enough, which is why diabetics have to track their insulin level and their blood sugar level.
Yeah.
Because if their blood sugar gets too high, they suffer a large amount of pain. But if it's too low and their insulin level is too high, then they have other problems. And you can't just blindly take your insulin at regular doses, because if you're in a period where your pancreas is producing enough, then you're going to go into insulin shock, and then you'll have much worse problems. So if this isn't managed properly, or if your pancreas is just more wild than others, you can develop other issues. So what if I said that by the time this young man was 23, he had already lost sight fully in one eye and a lot of his sight in the second eye, such to the point where he was considered legally blind?
Oh, yeah. That's horrible, right?
And also, every time he was outside in the cold, he experienced numbness, which means he didn't feel the cold. But every time he would come in from being cold, he would experience a large amount of pain throughout his whole body. And that this is a complicated set of additional, it's not really a symptom, but it's a complicated set of knock-on effects that come from bad cases of diabetes throughout a person's life. Other things that can happen, which it looks like maybe they had begun in this young man, are kidney failure, which your kidneys, I mean, they don't fail on a flick of the switch. They sort of fail gradually. And as they do, when your kidneys start to fail slowly over time, your blood becomes slowly more poisonous with time, and you get all kinds of other symptoms. And one of them generally is that at your extremities, usually your fingers being the most extreme of your extremities, tends to collect and pool these poisons, and you get necrosis. Parts of your body start to die while you're attached to them.
That sounds horrible.
It's fucking awful.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, this then really speaks to the fact that, like, why did Rogan use this example when there was a whole host of physical medical issues that he could have pointed out?
Doctors who looked at this young man feel that his depression was the result of his very bad diabetes and his feeling that he was going to be unable to deal with it.
It's not something that improves. His sight doesn't start returning. The pain from being
it's
in
already
and out doesn't get
ripped
better.
so many things from him, and seems to be getting worse and less able to be managed. Right. So Poilievre says he's familiar with this situation, but doesn't bring it up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we sometimes have in conversations, we have, politeness. Maybe we don't bring it up because we're being polite, but Poilievre already demonstrated for us earlier this episode that he can correct the record for Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And he can laugh it off, and he can, say, oh, but there's some conspiracies that are true, but he can correct the record. He has the cojones to do that. And yet, in this case,
if they're making such a big deal about, medical assistance not being centered around somebody with purely issues regarding, mental illness, then they should be using way better examples than this, right? Like, so how come this is the entry level of example production, right? Like, it's
to mention this case at all without mentioning the word diabetes is egregious unreality. And like, it's I don't know, maybe possible that Joe Rogan caught this from a right-wing shitbag TikTok account that he follows that themselves already, lopped the diabetes part out of the story or whatever,
Yeah.
I guess. But if he's going to talk about it, like, here's the other thing is that I feel that people who have platforms, and there's no online single person powered platform larger than Joe Rogan's right now.
Yeah.
He is the most listened to podcaster in the world.
Mm-hmm.
There are news programs that you might be able to argue are bigger and more influential, but they're teams of people.
Right.
His is like one personality driven thing. As far as one single person who has the mic, he has a bigger mic than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
I think people who are in those situations have a responsibility for disinformation that they put into the world.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe I'm over the line there. I feel that they have a responsibility and they should be held to that responsibility when they get it way wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important. Like, more than just like, oh, you're going to reel off a statistic and you said 62 instead of 68 or whatever. Like, this is not that. This is way wrong. To understand that this man had very debilitating diabetes that he'd already been struggling with his entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And was, limiting his movements now. And with once you can't walk very far, your ability, yeah, we're going to get to it, but yeah, it's.
Well, I mean, so there's double responsibilities. There's the responsibility of Rogan as a podcaster, which he casually shrugs off often
In favor of the thing he wants. I mean,
no, but
I circle back to him saying, unfortunately, about the Trudeau thing, because that's a thing he wants. He wants it to be true. He wants it to be true that Trudeau is Rogan's son, right? He wants the fun conspiracies to be true. I'm yelling and I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you should tell me I'm yelling.
Okay.
He wants the conspiracies to be true, but, and he wants like this story as he told it, with the seasonal depression and not the full depression and not the diabetes and, not the other, that the version of the story he told is the one he wants to be true.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere inside him, he feels that he gets to say the version of the story that he wants to be true. Like, I guarantee
well, he also,
really
so Rogan will excuse himself from that the responsibility of
he's
accuracy.
Just a guy talking in front of the mic. Yeah,
exactly. Like, he'll just refer to himself as this meathead comedian. So to whatever degree we can or can't hold him to account for that, I think it's more in our interest to place the focus back on Poilievre, who had the option at that point to be like, no, I'm not entirely familiar. Can you pull that up? And if Rogan continues to talk about it, it'd be like, hey, like even Poilievre in the first whatever minutes was talking about he gave him a gift that said, pull that up, Jamie. Well, why didn't they pull that up, Jamie, then?
Yeah.
Right. Actually be like, oh, let's read the specifics so that Rogan could come face to face with his misapprehension of it. And Poilievre could say, well, here's the actual cases, or here's the actual statistic we're looking at, instead of them being so buddy about something that neither one of them are accurately presenting.
Right? Neither one. And Poilievre should absolutely know the details of this case. If he's going to use it as part of his, stump speech against this,
he's actively working to change policy using the power he has as the leader of his party and with their collected interest. Yeah. He definitely has a much, much higher degree of responsibility. I think that's being sidestepped.
I also worry that we give too much leeway in these situations sometimes. And like, if people want to talk about what limits to place on this MAID program or whatever, that's great. But what I want is that you use real details and actual facts to make your case.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't use this as this guy had seasonal depression and then we killed him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's fucking garbage. That's fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Don't
people would
bring
walk
that
away
to
from
me.
this
I will
episode
stomp
believing
on
that.
you.
Yeah.
I will fucking stomp on you in an argument. If you bring that up with me, I will shove this right down your throat. I don't give a fuck. This young man deserves more than that. And really, he doesn't deserve to be a political pawn. He didn't do any of this to be that.
Yeah.
He like, this trods on his dignity every time you lie about it and trot it out to try to, get a political win.
Well, it diminishes the truth of his real struggle in this life.
Absolutely.
Right? And it very much cheapens it. And if they're talking about human dignity, then they have no business discussing this individual.
We have a couple more clips. We should get to some of them. Let's, there we go.
All right.
I think we do have to promote fitness more because it gives people, it turns them into a subject that controls their surroundings rather than an object being controlled. It teaches people that hardship is temporary and that the aftermath is positive. And we have to reinstill people with a sense of meaning when they're going through hardship, rather than to say that it's all over. And I think our system needs to be geared towards giving people all the best options to live on, rather than just suggesting MAID as the easy, as the automatic path for the system to impose on people.
So that statement was the kicker for me. That was the one, when I heard it, I was like, oh, we're doing an episode on this. For the system to impose on people was the phrase he used.
Mm-hmm.
That's conspiratorial talk. That's a conspiratorial mindset right there. For the system to impose on people. That's the decision paranoia that we talked about last week. That's the government deciding for you thing.
Mm-hmm. In the absence of any situation where the government is imposing, right?
I mean, the government decides which day my garbage goes out.
No, yeah, but
they make a lot of decisions. Yeah, sure. But they're not imposing this on anyone.
Yeah, he's manufacturing a form of outrage around something that doesn't even occur.
But it's more than that, because just his phrasing there. I mean, this is something that I think is true about Poilievre, and this is time to talk about it. It came up when he was laughing off the Castro thing and saying that, implying, leaving a door open, implying that, this one's not true, but there's real ones. There's other ones that are real, not specifying which ones they are, of course, whatever. Yeah. I have no way of proving this, but this is what I think is true of Poilievre. I think that when he hears the conspiratorial stuff on podcasts, on Rogan, which he probably listens to some Rogan here and there, on other places where it might cross his path. I think when he's not in front of a camera and he's just all alone, whatever, driving and it's on the radio or whatever, I think he smiles and nods along. I think he, is in some kind of inside his mind, silent agreement about those things. And it comes across in the language that he uses. He uses it here for the system to impose on you. It comes across in poo-pooing the Castro thing. It's still leave open the real conspiracies is not one of the real ones, right? Mm-hmm. And this is like a crack in the foundation that people look at, they see, but they don't, it's hard. There's a lot of people who have this general sense that they don't really like the direction that he goes, and they strongly think that he's conspiratorial, but he never really says it. And I think that the little things like this are what those people are picking up on. And they, when you ask them why they don't like Poilievre, it's very difficult for them to exactly put their finger on. Well, it's just this sort of bland sense I have, and it makes them seem like that what their unease with him is not really based on anything. But that's not really the real story. It's that there are indications. It's just that it's hard to say, like, this is the smoking gun that shows the thing, right? It's more like evidence for evolution. There is no one piece of evidence for evolution that is the one thing that proves the case, right? There's a wealth of very small details that add up to a case for evolution, right? And the same thing is true, I suspect, with Poilievre and conspiratorial thinking, is that in his private life, he engages with it and he nods along with it and he encourages the thoughts with it in his own mind. But he knows that there's a political cost to saying it outright, to speaking about it in interviews and everything else. So he avoids those, and he doesn't, like when he corrected Rogan on the Castro thing, he didn't have to do it with a laugh and a smile and an obviously, oh, well, as if he's, reserving the truth about Santa for a small child or something, right? Oh, well, Santa will show up later. Oh, like he didn't have to do it that way. He could have been more stern and more strict with it, whatever, but that's not the way he engages with conspiratorial ideas. It's just not. And this is what I'm proposing. I think that he does engage with them in a much, much more friendly fashion than I would be comfortable with a prime minister engaging with him in, knowing full well that I also don't like that anyone engages with him on that level, but I think we should have a higher standard for prime ministers than everyone else. Sorry, but I do. Prime ministers shouldn't be just a regular guy that you might have a beer with and then they happen to be prime minister. They have a very important job. They should have a higher level of standard than other people. That's just a thing that I think should be true. And by the way, all the people who become prime minister also think that's true. Whether or not it was true or not, they all think it's true. They all think they got there because they were on a higher standard. And I think that says something about his level of conspiratorial thinking. I think that he does that. And I think it comes out in little moments like this. Wee little moments that add up to a sense that some people get. And that's also how you get this dichotomy. The people who are engaging regularly and openly with conspiracies also catch those little things. And they also think that he's one of our guys. I support him because he's one of our guys. Like, and if you were going to ask them, what exactly makes you think that he's into these conspiracy theories? They also wouldn't be able to pinpoint it. There wouldn't be a smoking gun for them either. But they had this strong sense because of all the little, line of breadcrumbs, this base layer of sort of evidence that's scattered out in these little comments he'll make all over the place, that he gets it. He's in, he knows.
Well, he's certainly never come out opening fire on nonsense, right?
No.
He's just
that's just it. There isn't a one true thing. Like, no, he said this one time, and that's how I know. There isn't that sense, but it's these little moments where he's saying little hook things like this, adding them on, and that's one of them right there. For the system to impose on you. This is straight from a conspiratorial mindset. This is a person who's listened to that content and agreed with it. That's what it tells me as a person who's been for 4 years now looking into, and talking to on Twitter people who believe in these things. So yeah. Any thoughts on that, Patrick?
No, I think you're pretty spot on, right? And it just continues to paint the picture about the really low bar he applies to things like this. Yeah.
So okay, we got a couple more clips because I think they're gonna be interesting and some good things to be angry at.
So one of the things our party is pushing for is to make clear that public servants who are getting phone calls from people who are in need of help for something, they shouldn't be offering that. They shouldn't be offering MAID. People can seek it out if they want. But when you're calling up saying I'm poor or I'm struggling or I'm having a mental illness or I've got an injury, we shouldn't have a government worker saying, well, consider MAID.
Yeah. If you knew someone who felt like they, sadly had some irreversible illness and they wanted to inquire about MAID, who do you think they should talk to?
Doctor,
fucking doctor, man. Like,
yeah.
Who the fuck would call their MLA or MP and say, hey, man, I'm wondering about this MAID thing? Like, no one's fucking doing that. So for Poilievre, and Poilievre fucking knows that. He helped to write you need two doctors to both agree. He knows that. He helped to read it to vote for or against the thing. Why does his office get phone calls for people wanting the MAID program? Like, what a weird fucking thing to say in the middle of this.
Yeah, it's just an empty opposition to something that's not even happening.
Yeah, of course. No one's going to a public official. You're not going to go to your city mayor and say, hey, man, like, look, this Huntington's disease, man, it's irreversible. I'm totally losing control.
Yeah.
I got and my neighbor has ALS, by the way, so they wanted me to ask for them too. Do you know what I could do about this, mayor of my town? Fuck no.
No,
go to the
ridiculous.
fucking doctor.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I don't know why he would do that.
Okay, well, that's good. That was good to get that one out. Okay, let's get the next clip.
Well, the unfortunate thing is that any organization that gets formed wants to grow, and you get financial incentives, and then you hire more people, and then it gets bigger, and then what do you have to do? Well, you have to keep doing what you're doing.
Exactly.
Well, what are you doing? You're killing people. So you're going to kill more people because you're actually financially incentivized to put more people through this program and end their lives.
Yeah.
That's weird.
That's a fucking whopper right there, right? Like,
financially incentivized to
famously, Canada has a not-for-profit healthcare system. Famously. It's like the number one thing that every fucking American knows about Canada. If they only know one thing about Canada, that's the thing they know. Free healthcare.
Right?
Yeah. Where are the financial incentives for this? Who's making the money on this? Who's getting rich on the MAID program? Like, what the fuck is this?
He's definitely conflated like what we do know about the predatory nature of the pharmaceutical industry. He's kind of conflating that issue and trying to migrate that outrage into this thing just to fuel something that's not even the case regarding MAID.
But I circle you back to the moment earlier where he mentioned his friend.
Had to go
went to the facility in Oregon.
State. Yeah.
Which is more likely to have financial incentives? The Canadian hospital where this young man, Keanu, died via the MAID program, or the facility in Oregon in the American system, the for-profit healthcare system, to have financial incentives to line people up and inject them as fast as possible? Which do you think is more likely to have financial incentives? But his friend did it and it's fine. And this Canadian system is all bad, and it's so bad that Rogan doesn't even want to come to Canada anymore because of all the crazy rules we have about all the bad stuff happening up here.
Well, he doesn't want to come up here and get mated.
Yeah. What he's describing is a factory. Yeah. Like that's completely in simpatico with what he's describing as a factory. And like, if you're going to have a factory to make cars, for example, there's a a thing that happens is it's essentially math that happens with mass production, in that the more you make, the cheaper each one becomes.
Yeah.
It's just a rule that's been true ever since
Economy of
Henry
scale.
Ford
Yeah.
made the assembly line work.
Mhm.
And it was actually true before the assembly line as well, but it really ramped up at the assembly line level. And so what he's describing is an assembly line, a company whose business it is to get as many people through as possible. And anytime that their, injection chair is cold, it's a time when they're not making money. So they got to go find more people for the MAID program.
Yeah.
That's fucking awful. Fuck Joe Rogan in his fucking goat ass. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm fucking done with that shit. Like, what, who the fuck? Like, that's not how any of this works. It's just not.
No, he's definitely confused about the issue, and he's confused about the mechanics about the system.
I also doubt that the facility in Oregon works that way, by the way. It's more likely to get there because they're in a for-profit system, but I also doubt that it works that way.
We could find out.
I'm
right?
sure we could.
He did name the guy, and we'd probably find out which facility that guy went to.
Yeah, probably, yeah. I mean, you could probably just look into other ones too. I mean, it's probably had to go to Oregon because the state that he lived in didn't have a program like that. And,
but it'd be interesting to see, like, what was the requirement for that facility? Like, do they just have like a walk-in line and be like, "Oh, you want to?"
Do they need two doctors to sign off? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or is there, or are there, similar safeguards you could say in place that we have that he's not acknowledging, that are for the sake of, trying to protect life if life can be protected.
Right. You don't have a psychopathic doctor who just, finds that, a desire to kill as many people as possible. So he just gets himself a job at the facility in Oregon where he just like, guess what I get to do today? And every day till the end of time, I get to, all I got to do is sign all these papers for people. That's great. And they'll never come after me. Yeah. That's not how this is working. And if we thought it was, we should point it out and, find some other way around it. I mean, if someone thought that there was a, doctor out there who was signing too many of these, documents, then maybe we should find a way to, have them only be a limit or something. I don't know, like, but there's there isn't no
examples of the oversight that's in place being violated. They have no actual examples that I'm aware of.
They haven't even mentioned that there is any oversight. I mean, in their version of this story, people just put their hand up, and then a doctor rushes in, grabs some money from them, apparently, and then injects them. Like,
suggests it. That's their
People who weren't thinking, about it. And there's a salesman that comes through in the emergency rooms everywhere and be like, "Hey, man, what are you in for? Like, you might apply for this, this might apply to you. The special time offer, we got 20% off this thing, man." Like,
well, I mean, this whole thing too, like the most resonating feature of misinformation for me that I see is, like, we've seen where they say, "Oh, well, it shouldn't be the case that," but when the fuck is it though? Right? Like, sure, it shouldn't be the case, but that's not, if that was the case, then that's what you'd be pointing at, but you're not pointing at that. You're just pointing at fucking shadows to say, it's like, well, when I hear blah, 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 who the fuck did you hear that from? First of all, which MP is pushing forward this idea that you're trying to counter?
Who's calling an MP's office asking for help with the MAID program? Like, that's what I want to know.
Or for any of these so-called shortcomings, when they say, well, it shouldn't be the case, that just show me one fucking person that said it should be the case,
right? So
that you can say you're actually part of an argument. Because if you're not part of an argument,
you have no evidence. It's hypothetical.
You're just stirring shit for the sake of trying to feed red meat to the idiots.
For people who don't look into the case, by the way. The uninformed. You get the uninformed voters.
Yeah. The uninformed voters who now, after listening to an episode of Rogan, think that somebody ended their own life using MAID only for seasonal
depression. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that is ugly. Right.
Yeah. And that there's financial incentives for doing so. There's probably some evil doctor somewhere that's getting super rich on,
again, it is a real issue, that profiteering in the medical, but not for this fucking issue. Like, it has no bearing in this conversation. So, it's a cheap tactic for anyone to reach for that.
Yeah. And egregiously fucking cheap, right? Like, yeah. All right. Well, I have one more clip. Let's just play it.
All right.
That's very sad.
I think we have to get to a point where people have the freedom to make their own decisions, but they also have hope that there is an option for them.
Yeah,
and
give
that's what
them
we're trying
a pathway. And like the exercise thing, it's not just give them control of their life. It makes them happier. There's been studies that show it's much more effective than antidepressants.
Absolutely. Well, it's first of all, there's the physiological side, which affects the brain, but it's also the sensation of discomfort that you push through, knowing that you have to focus on the thing you have to do. And that, I think, it helps us in anything we're encountering, whether you're going through a divorce or a bankruptcy or an injury or an illness. If you know that pushing through to the other side, because you've got a meaning there, that can give people hope for a better life,
Yeah. So I have a word for what they just did there. It's called victim blaming. The idea that they, the person who's suffering just didn't push through, just didn't hold on enough, just didn't try hard enough.
Yeah.
I have a special fuck you to people like that. I do. I not gonna, go into anyone else's experiences, but I know people in my life who I love, who have had problems, and it's not a thing you can just push through.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. And therefore, the expectation that they do, and that if they don't, their suffering is their own fault, is fucking awful. It's just, you can't do this.
It's not people. Putting it into the right relative, like, when people do, you can say some people do push through. Some people have that resolve. Great. That's a privilege. That is
it's amazing.
Exactly. This is a person who's been able to either connect with help or has been able to center themselves during conflict or crisis or what have you. But there are people who don't have those skills.
It's a recognition that not every human is built the same.
Yeah.
Some of us have other tools on our belt than others do. And the people who don't have that special set of tools that allow that to happen shouldn't be relegated to the, sucks to suck pile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, fuck off already.
Mm-hmm.
So I would want to ask Rogan, as a fuck you to Rogan, why didn't his friend Michael Lehrer just push through and do more exercise or whatever the fuck?
Well, because Rogan was looking at the actual case of his friend facing a debilitating illness. It's
different when you're looking at a person who's really dying of a thing. Yeah.
As opposed to just trying to use somebody as a prop in his fallacious argument that the situation is even going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And to use people who, again, these are intensely personal decisions that people make.
Mm-hmm.
And these should be only discussions between them and their family and their doctors.
Mm-hmm.
That's who it is. And in the end, the discussion between them and the doctor is more important than the discussion between them and their family. Sorry, but that's how it is. And like the same math for this applies to abortion. it's, in my opinion, it's intensely personal. It's something that a person talks about with their doctor, and other people might have strong feelings about the decision that's made.
Mhm.
Fine. But it's not them making the decision. It's just not. It's one person and their doctor going through it to make the decision. And that's how that works. It might not be a decision that you would make or whatever. Great. There's all kinds of decisions that all kinds of people make that I wouldn't make. That doesn't make me better than them because I would make those decisions differently. It just makes me a different person. That's all it makes.
Yeah. Drawing on a completely different set of.
And the same thing is true here. I'm not suffering from debilitating diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not having that kind of pain every day. I'm not. And it's also possible that someone is experiencing that pain every day, but because of the way subjective reality works, it affects one person differently than another person. Mm-hmm. And that's also something we have to understand and cope with.
That's not really a strong point in the conservative playbook.
No. Yeah, no.
I'm not saying it's completely absent. Like, I know some amazingly huge-hearted people on the conservative side, but not by and large. When you start to look at the party politics, there's not a lot of messaging around, like, well, we should be sensitive to people. It's more the other way around. Like, your sensitivity, the sensitivity requirement's annoying me because it's asking me to do it.
Yeah. Right.
No. Well.
Yeah, you can't force anyone to be sensitive.
Yeah.
Well, you can't. No, that's fine. But it shouldn't be that the entire society should flex itself around your lack of sensitivity.
Yeah. We have to look at the outcomes, and I think that's something that is conveniently sidestepped too, right?
Yeah. So I do want to have another shout out to a podcast. I've already given them a shout out once, but I just heard the episode today. Again, podcast The Breakdown with Nate Pike. They deal almost exclusively with Alberta politics, and this exact case of Keanu and the diabetes and the all of that, it came up in Alberta politics this week, along with it being, a thing that Pierre Poilievre and Joe Rogan trotted out a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So he did a much more detailed view of the entire case of Keanu and his family and how all the pieces fit together. Much more detailed than I did here. I did a very shortened version. I mean, he had diabetes and he was legally blind and he had a lot of pain. But there are a lot more details there that if you're going to look into it, you'll see. And I think if you owe it to yourself, if you're going to want to know about it, to know as many details as possible. And I think the episode that he just did, that was March 29th, 2026, go back to his feed and listen to that episode for yourself. He does a great job of putting much more details in. He also does like a 2-hour podcast. So, or sometimes more. So, he has, more time to work with. I'm just here to get mad at Poilievre and Rogan. Rogan, because he can keep his nose out of things that aren't his business. Personal shit that belongs to other people. Really, there's no reason for him to do that. He wants to judge all of Canada based on that. Fine. He doesn't want to come here. I'm happy either way. It's fine. It's fine by me. Whatever.
Yeah. And just in case anyone's listening, it might be useful to know that, like, Rogan's podcast that we're discussing happened on March 19th, 2026. Just in case someone's listening to this 2 years in the future and they need to fast scroll to that episode with Poilievre, but I'm sure they can. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure all the clips I used were in the first half an hour of that podcast, maybe even the first 20 minutes. There were other moments in there that were made me angry, but this is already long enough. It's almost an hour and a half now. This will do.
Yeah.
I don't need to exhaustively list everything they got wrong. Poilievre should know better.
Yeah. Agreed.
And I don't think it's egregious for me to expect Poilievre to know better and to judge him for that. That's yeah. So
all right.
With that, we'll sign off. If anyone has any questions, comments, complaints, concerns, they can send that email to truthunrestricted@gmail.com. Get a picture of one of my pets. Just a moment. For the YouTube listeners, I do have one of those pets with me right now. This is a nice, still a kitten growing up, but still he was just napping, so he's kind of still sleepy. Yeah. And that's fun. And extra shout out to Jeff Powell for the outro music that went with the intro music that is about to play right now. So yeah, and that will sign off.
Signing off.
Till next time, Patrick.
Thanks.